welcome back to The Hedge with Double D.
The Hedge with Double D.
Thank you for joining me. It's just me today, going solo, but we're here for the weekend recap and some Monday Night Football picks. We got a big game tonight. We got the Packers and the Raiders, but go Pack, go baby. You know we're Packers fans here at The Hedge. And we're going to be cheering for the Pack. We're cheeseheads here. I wish my buddy Colin was here so we could really talk about the Pack today, but it's just me. We'll get some of them back later this week when we do official picks for next week. So, let's just jump into Monday Night Football picks. I know that's what y'all are here for. You're here for the picks. You're here to make some money. Let's do the Monday Night Football picks first, and then we'll do the recap of last weekend's games. So, Monday Night Football, Packers, Raiders. Raiders, this spread's gone back and forth. At one point, the Packers were favored. The Raiders were favored at first, then it jumped to the Packers, and now it's back to the Raiders. And it's at -2 or -2.5, favoring the Raiders. So it's a strange line. A lot of the bettors are back and forth. The money's been back and forth. I think if it jumps up to 3, I would imagine money pours in on the Packers because +3 turns into a lot, especially in Vegas, where I'd imagine the Packers show up very well. They travel well, the fans travel well in general, but it's always fun. You know, it would be fun to go to Vegas for the weekend for the Monday night game. So I imagine the Packers have a good showing, so there's not like much of a home field advantage for the Raiders. But the injuries are really what's making this hard to pick. I'm going to give you some same game parlay picks, but I'm just going to advise you when I'm going to hold these picks until the game, like right before the game, because I'm waiting to see exactly if Davante Adams is going to play. It looks like he's going to play. It looks like Jair Alexander is going to play for the Packers. So that's big. If Davante Adams wasn't hurt, I would be jumping all over his over on yards and score a touchdown. But with the injury, I'm just not totally sure. So I might just stay away from Davante Adams. But that is going to make me look towards Josh Jacobs rushing wise. Packers are terrible against the rush defense wise. So I would imagine, even though the Raiders have been bad running the ball, this is their chance to kind of ride it. Josh Jacobs is a good running back. I imagine he gets his, especially if they're not going to be throwing quite as much to Davante Adams, maybe. On the Packers side, it looks like Aaron Jones is not going to play, so it's going to be A.J. Dillon again, who's been very disappointing as a Packers fan. I'm going to lean toward A.J. Dillon's under, and that's going to be part of one of my picks because maybe it's wishful thinking, but hopefully the Packers give Patrick Taylor some more carries, and A.J. Dillon, they kind of split carries because A.J. Dillon hadn't been doing it, man. Maybe give it to him on those short yardage situations or near the goal line because he's so big, but he just really hasn't been able to squeak through the holes like Aaron Jones can. So maybe Patrick Taylor will be a better option. We'll see. But having said that, let's jump into one of my picks because like I said, A.J. Dillon under is part of that. And Josh Jacobs over is the other part of that. So even though both teams are really bad run defenses, the Packers A.J. Dillon hasn't been able to run the ball very well. And hopefully Patrick Taylor takes over and gets some more opportunities. So I'm going to take A.J. Dillon under 48.5 rushing yards. And I'm going to take Josh Jacobs over 74.5 because I think he will get it done. He'll get a couple big rushes, and I think he'll turn one of those into a touchdown. So looking at DraftKings gives you a 50% boost. No, I'm not sponsored by DraftKings yet, but DraftKings, Josh Jacobs, anytime touchdown, Josh Jacobs over 74.5 yards, A.J. Dillon under 48.5. I'm not buying or selling any yards there. That gives you plus 400. With the 50% boost, that boosts it up to plus 600. So it's super juicy there. So plus 600, I love that. Put a unit on that. Again, Josh Jacobs to score, Josh Jacobs over 74.5, and A.J. Dillon under 48.5. If I jump over to my FanDuel account, FanDuel is also given a 50% boost on a 3-leg same game parlay. Same thing as DraftKings, got to be 3 legs, got to be same game parlay. So I'm going to focus more on the Packers here. I think we're not going to run the ball that well, and if we do, hopefully it's Patrick Taylor. But I think Jordan Love throws it maybe not a lot, but he throws it enough. I think he'll get at least 1 passing touchdown, which I know is not great odds, but I feel great about it. So throw it in because you got to have 3 legs, so they don't all have to be, great or juicy. But Jordan Love 1 passing touchdown. Also, Jordan Love 225 or more passing yards. So we are pushing that down. I think it's at 235.5 for him, but down to 225, a little safer. I think he's going to throw it a lot. Watson should be back. I don't know if he'll be 100%, but I think it'll be enough for us to get a couple big plays, at least at 225 passing yards, at least 1 touchdown. And I think it'll be a close game. So I'm going to add the Packers plus 3.5. Buy a point on there, plus 3.5. If they lose on a last-second field goal, you'll still cover. I'm leaning towards the Packers even winning this game, so I like the plus 3.5. I feel like that's kind of a comfortable cover there. All 3 of these, as you can tell, are much more. We're buying touchdowns, we're buying yards, we're buying points, but it's a same game parlay, which you get the 50% boost. So to me, that's worth it. A little safer. Without the boost, it's plus 181. With the boost, you get plus 271. So still plus 271, still pretty good odds there. So again, my second same game parlay, Jordan Love 1 touchdown, at least 225 passing yards, and the Packers plus 3.5. So those are your 2 same game parlays I'm putting out for y'all tonight. Listen to everything I said about that, see if you agree with what I'm saying, and see if you want to join me on those. If you do, good luck. Let's go Pack. I'm excited for the game tonight, and we will be right back for the recap of last weekend. So stick around, stay with us, and thank you for joining us. All right, thanks for sticking around. Welcome back to The Hedge with Double D.
The Hedge with Double D.
We have done our Monday Night Football talk, so let's jump into our recap from last weekend here. We'll start with college football. In terms of The Hedge, we went 3-2. Last week we went 4-1. This week 3-2, so 2 pretty good weeks back to back. And our Colorado pick only missed by a half point, unfortunately. So we missed the Colorado pick, and we missed the Washington State pick. So those were both unfortunate, but we did hit on Georgia. We hit on the Iowa under. Love the Iowa under. And then if you coupled that with Iowa to cover, that also hit. But then we also hit with Alabama -2. So 3-2, pretty good weekend. In terms of kind of top 25 wrap up, Georgia looked really good, bouncing back from a couple of maybe not so great games, really taking it to Kentucky. Michigan looked good. Then Texas, Oklahoma, man, what a game. Great Red River rivalry. Back and forth. Texas comes back, but then Oklahoma wins it at the end. Great game. So Texas is probably going to drop a little bit. Oklahoma will rise up in the rankings, and they'll that'll kind of go back and forth, I would imagine, with the Big 12. Those definitely seem like the 2 best teams in the Big 12. Ohio State was shaky in the first half and then came back. And I feel like Ohio State always runs up the score at the end to make it look better than it was. But again, they won by 20. And then the ACC, you have an interesting race in the ACC. Florida State handled they could have looked better for sure, but they ended up still winning by like 22. And then Louisville wins, even though it's not an ACC game, it's kind of ACC game, whatever. They beat Notre Dame, big win for Louisville. And then North Carolina keeps chugging along, just destroyed Syracuse. And then Miami with that terrible loss at the end, terrible coaching, not needing it. That's just unfortunate, kind of funny. I'm excited to see or hear how upset the Levitard show will be. That'll make that a good show. So that's always interesting when Miami does something stupid like that. But if you look at the ACC, you got North Carolina, Louisville, and Florida State all at the top. You would have thought it'd be Clemson up there, but you've got a 3-team race. And what's really interesting is they don't play each other this year. None of those 3 teams play each other. So they're all it's going to be the top two teams, just based on if they can beat the other teams. And who is going to slip up? They all play Duke. They all play Miami. So maybe Duke and Miami can kind of beat one or two of them, and that can kind of decide who's in the ACC championship. So ACC a little bit more exciting than I expected. So that's always good. Moving on, like we said, Pac-12 stuff. Washington State they did not look very good. Their quarterback Cam Ward had been playing great. Just UCLA, I guess, had a much better defense. But UCLA won that, and then Oregon State won again. Looked pretty good. And then rounding out with the SEC, that LSU Missouri game was crazy. LSU ended up handling business at the end with the pick six to kind of put it all down. The 10 points just makes it look like a bigger win, but it was really close game, really good game. Big win for LSU, and could have been a huge win for Missouri. So too bad for them. And then Ole Miss doesn't cover, but they take care of business with a win. So, and then my team, Wisconsin, they beat Rutgers. They don't look great. They look okay. They favored by like 10 against Iowa next week already. So that's a huge spread. I might jump on Iowa immediately before that. I would imagine it's going to come down a little bit, even though it's at Camp Randall in Wisconsin. But we'll see. We'll discuss that Wednesday night when we put that show out Thursday or Friday. Y'all can listen to see if we do take Wisconsin or not. Otherwise, we'll see kind of who take. I mean, obviously, I'd imagine Ohio State jumps in, and then Florida State just kind of follows suit for the top four. But a couple of really exciting conference races coming up. So between the SEC, the Big Ten, the ACC, which is kind of unexpected, Big 12, and the Pac-12, really unexpected. Pac-12 is really good this year. We didn't see Washington and Oregon. They were both off this week. So next week, they'll be back in business. I think they play each other next week. So that'll be a huge game. So Pac-12, exciting. And before they break up their final year. Okay. Fun recap though. It was a good week of football. Again, hedge 3-2, so always good to come out ahead. But let's move on to the NFL. We got the Monday Night Football game tonight. We've already talked about that. Go Pack, go! Let's go. Hopefully the Packers can pull it out. Injuries are going to be interesting about that, but we've already talked about that. So let's recap what happened. Not a whole lot of ups. Well, a lot of good covers. No huge upsets like last week. We didn't have, I guess, like an official 5 picks or whatever we did for the hedge, but we talked about like every game, and we did really good on at least covering the upsets, covering the teams getting points. We had the Jags covering, and they covered and won. We had the Texans, and they barely covered on that half point, but that's a cover. We had the Panthers, so that didn't work out covering. We had the Colts, and they obviously won and covered. And then we did not have the Steelers. Man, what a terrible game for the Ravens that was. They couldn't catch the ball. And then otherwise, we did not have the Jets either. So, but we had a couple of those big covers. We had the Colts winning outright, so that was big. The Dolphins covering, we had that, which seems pretty inevitable. Man, I did not see the Saints just absolutely destroying the Patriots. Bill Belichick's, man, he's looking shaky. Sad to see, honestly. I don't know, maybe not sad. Not like I like him. Good to see him lose finally. But it is weird to see how bad they are all of a sudden. And it's just kind of weird to see how Tom Brady went out on top and he's just falling apart. So, but the Saints, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see the Saints and the Falcons battling for that division, and the Bucks. You got to give the Bucks some credit, so we'll see. But I think it's going to come down to the Saints and the Falcons. The Lions really look good. Lions look like a top team. Not to jump too far ahead, but obviously the Cowboys look terrible against the Niners. Maybe the 49ers are just that much the best team. But the Niners, the Eagles, the Lions, they're all kind of top tier NFC. So good for the Lions. In terms of other big news, the Steelers got a big win. AFC North is crazy. The Bengals might still be my favorite to win the AFC North. Finally, Joe Burrow looks good. Got Jamar Chase involved. They finally got that connection going. And if Joe Burrow looks healthy, which he did, If he stays healthy, then I feel like you gotta like the Bengals. You probably get really good odds on them right now to win it. But I'll look that up here. But you probably get good odds on the Bengals. I mean, you don't want to count the Ravens out. They had a terrible game. They really should have beaten the Ravens. I mean, sorry, the Steelers by a lot. The Steelers, who are in first, I almost trust the least in that division, which is kind of strange. The Browns are kind of back and forth. I still kind of believe in the Browns, so that's weird. The AFC North is going to be a wild division, I feel like, all year. The Eagles still looking dominant. I feel like it's the Eagles and the 49ers for sure, but again, like the Lions and the Cowboys are kind of there. Bengals bounce back. Man, the Vikings look bad. The Chiefs take care of business. The Vikings, man, they're just I don't know what the Vikings are doing. And maybe Justin Jefferson's going to be out next week. I saw that might be something. Right now, the Vikings, if you look at if we jump ahead to next week, I think the Vikings are favored against the Bears right now. And it's looking like Justin Jefferson might not play. Sources telling me Justin Jefferson might not play. So if that happens to be the case, that line's going to change drastically. So now might be a good time. Put a little something on the Bears +3 at home doggy. With that, if the Vikings don't have Jefferson, I don't know what they're going to do on offense. So something to think about. Vikings are bad. Maybe the Bears. We didn't even talk about it. The Bears got their first win finally. So good for them. Good for the Bears. Good for the Lions. Some of our rivals. It's good to see them get a little bit of success coming from my cocky, arrogant Packers fan. So no, I'm only allowed to be like that because we've had Favre and Rodgers my whole life. So hard not to be. And now we'll see, man. Jordan Love. I wish I had Colin here with me. We could talk. We could gush about Jordan Love, but he looks pretty good. We'll see tonight if he can keep going. A little Monday night performance. Rodgers was always good in prime time, so we'll see if Love can follow suit. But I guess that's all for today. Again, we'll try to come back Wednesday night and get the NFL and the college picks out the next Thursday and Friday there. So thanks for joining me. I will see y'all later this week when we get those picks out. Hopefully we do well on our picks tonight for the Packers game. Go Pack, go! If you've got a good parlay going, don't forget to hedge those bets. Bet responsibly. Thank you for listening, and I will see y'all next time on The Hedge with Double D. See ya.